But what I would like to do now is go through the laws. And what you really should understand is involved in every choice you make and every action that we have and is involved in every part of us, and what our soul is a participant in. You know, I don't know what people think soul is. I haven't got a clue. But I'm looking at that as I'm writing this next piece of work. Like, what do people think the soul is? Because this, to me, our physical bodies are the participants in the first, second, and third floors. Because everything's about what our physical body wants. We crave food, we crave stuff, we crave sex, we crave whatever our cravings are. We see the world of cravings out here. And it doesn't, and if our higher self has no sense of consciousness, we can't control what we see in the lower world. We jump out the window and we go after it. We become insane in the lower world, or the lower world grabs us. And it totally throws us against the wall. And any substance in the lower world will do us in. Booze, drugs, doesn't matter, or disease. And if you really think logically, if the majority of you is controlled by the lower floors, you can't survive anything. Just think logically. In higher logic. I mean, in soul logic. You've got to have you have to engage your spirit, and you need your soul. And there are two different forces in you. Let's be very clear here. Your spirit is the part that engages your chakras, that engages your energy system. When I walk behind you, or you walk behind someone, and I slip into your orbit, you're going to go, the electric system in you, right? That's not your soul. That's your energy. That's your spirit. I can't access your soul like that. Your soul is the cosmic part of you that was born inherently knowing the nature of archetypes, inherently knowing the history of the species, inherently recognizing mother archetype, father, cosmic, inherently knowing what dies is born again. You have to fight your own instincts to unknow what you're born knowing. Understand what I just said to you? You can make choices to go against your own nature, but it will cost you. Inhumane choices cost you dearly. And the word that we should rightly use for inhumane choices is sin. We are sinning against our own nature. It's not a Catholic word. Don't stop, I want to scream at people, stop it. Stop thinking about that. Stop it. Some acts of choice deserve the word sin. And an act against our own nature, to consciously choose to torture or torment a human being or life, is a sin. It's against our own nature. And we know it. It's an act of inhumanity against man. That is a law right up here. We are born knowing you don't do that. You do not use the power God gave you to destroy life. It is inhumane. And it is against what life is about. Life is about life. Remember that. Life is about life. And when you find yourself on a road, psychically alone in the dark, you close your eyes and you remember your life is about life. And at the crossroads, when you stand there and think, I don't know what to choose, then you remember what I just told you. Which choice is most about life? Which choice before you most supports the well-being of life? Which choice would be most destructive to your life? As hard as that choice is, I didn't ask you which is the easiest choice, which is the safest. I would never ask you that. I have no interest in that. I asked you which choice supports life and which would be most destructive. If you said, but I'm frightened, my response is, of course you are. And which choice supports life? Because I cannot support you making a choice to take a knife and cut out an organ. And I will not support that. Or someone keeping a phone on. Okay, so you up here, the law. Life supports life. If I make a choice, any choice, no matter how big or small, that is destructive to life, my own or others, there's a price to pay for that. And it is not a price because God's going to burn me in hell like Dante's Fifth Circle, though I would love to see Republicans there. That's my last political. It's not a joke. Wish. It's on my bucket list. But what I will say is that it is because it is a law. And there's a consequence to every choice we make. You have a thought, the thought is not kind, don't say it. What point is it? What point is it? This is what you have to tell yourself. What point is it? You consciously know this is unkind. Why am I doing this? And that's where you have to say to yourself, I'm doing it because I want to do something unkind. I am consciously doing something unkind to that human being. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to be mean. I have what it takes to be mean. And it's at that point you should say to somebody, I'll be right back. Go in the mirror, look at yourself and say, you bitch. And then turn around and walk back and sit down, I'm back. Say it to yourself. We call it bitch slapping. Say it to yourself. See how it feels. Take it on yourself. And then lie to yourself. Tell yourself a lie. I have every right to say something mean. Go ahead and give yourself the excuse that they would tell themselves if they were saying it about you. And listen to what nonsense. You're foaming at the mouth. You're foaming. You're having a rabies attack. This is called rabies. You're foaming at the mouth. And the reason I'm teaching you this, so you remember, is I'm saving you from some really bad, painful stuff. Really bad, painful stuff. Because this is the stuff that makes depression. This is the stuff that gets you into dark holes. This is the stuff that backfires and makes you feel sorry for yourself. You're making a big toxic drink of self-pity. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And just so you know, that's what you're doing. And that's what I would call a law. It will not fail. It will not fail. When you hear someone talking in dark ways about someone, what you need to know is the law is within a week, within 2 days, whatever, they're going to be drowning in self-pity. It's a law, not a punishment. Let's be really clear here. It's that this is Taoism, the nature of dredging up that kind of energy actually creates a different kind of psychic cesspool, and you start feeling very bad for yourself because the real intention is that you were trying to make yourself feel better than that person, and it backfires. And it backfires every time. So this is where love comes in. Instead, say something nice about that person. You can't say it, pray it. Can't say it, pray it. Can't say it, pray it. If you can't say it, if it chokes on you to say it, and it does every time I look east in my country, I have to pray it. I have to pray my way through. I have to pray. I imagine all kinds of things. I imagine abduction, alien abductions. I imagine all kinds of things. But you have no idea. You have no idea, you have no idea. Trust me when I say you have no idea. The Iron Maiden, the return of, the guillotine. But anyway, but then I crawl up and you say to yourself, I have no idea why things are as they are. I have no idea why I'm here, where I am as I am. I'm sure I baffled a lot of people who think, what is with that woman? Who leave here and think, what a whirlwind, jeez Louise. I have no idea why we interact, but I teach and I pray Thomas Merton, this day of our lives will never come again. We will never have the grace to sit in each other's company again. I have no idea why things are as they are, but I do know that there's a divine plan that's unfolding even as we sit and breathe together. I don't know what is unfolding in this planet, but I do know, and here is the penthouse truth. Human beings never have the last say on anything. And if we look at what is the truth, the chart of history, and the events as they unfold in our lives and determine the future of humanity, are really more often determined by natural events, even in your own life, by tsunamis and hurricanes named Katrina and 10-point earthquakes off Japan and all the other events that are swirling in our global village, that are swirling in our personal lives. We do not know what every single day brings. We now live in a world, this is what's true, you have to come up here and understand this, that has become very, very tiny, where every change is immediate. Immediate. What happens now in Ukraine is affecting the whole world. The whole world, simultaneously in some way, affecting the monetary, affecting armies, affecting this. We wake up in the morning and it's affected us in some way. There was a time prior to World War II when nobody even cared. It was just who. Today, all change is immediate. It is universal. There's any place it doesn't touch. Facebook, this, that, the other. And therefore, something we all have to recognize. Everything we do and think is profound. You have become profound. You are a profound, significant player in life. If one of your Facebook messages can make a difference in this world, could set the Middle East on fire, could start the Arab Spring. A man who says, I'm not going to be insulted anymore in Tunisia. No, I'm not. to a policeman. No, I'm not. No more. No more. A man none of us would have ever heard of, who could live and die and none of us would have cared about. Now he's a patron saint of the revolution of the Middle East. The world is changed because one man said, no more. 2 words. Made Facebook, made the Middle East. Each action you take is profound, but let's be very clear. The mystics and Jesus and Buddha told human beings this was the way it was. That every thought was, every mustard seed could move a mountain. Down here, you look at a mustard seed and a mountain, and you think, oh, what nonsense. But I drag you up here and say, don't you get it now? One clear, like Voltaire, no army can withstand the force of an idea whose time has come. No one, you are capable of untold everything when you organize your fragments and say, what are the laws here? The law of gravity in your first base, which means I really need to, you really need to understand that you exist in a sea of perceptions. You are perceiving me. You're looking at my pen. You're looking at the board. All of these are perceptions. You're looking at this thing. You're looking at my bracelets. You're looking. You are perceiving at the speed of light. But you're not attaching yourself to 1 billion of those perceptions. You're not attaching. You're not anchoring yourself. You're not anchoring yourself to, none of you is sitting there craving my pen, saying, I gotta get that pen. My life will be incomplete. I'll need therapy if I don't get that pen. I must have that pen. None of you is doing that. None. But now the law of gravity. I'm your angel. You are my students. I am your spiritual director, and I insist you learn this. The law of gravity, gravitas. Grave, take it to the grave. The law of weight. Think, visualize, understand. You're walking around a world full of perceptions. I perceive the window. I see this. Look at this rug. Da, 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 da. Look at those flowers. There's my sweater. See yourself. Get it that you're walking around in a field of sparks. That's the sparks of life and energy. Okay? And then you focus in on something. When you look. Now, shall I incarnate myself there or not? Do I want that? Shall I anchor, take that serious? Someone walks up I walk up to you, and I say, I would never use that pen. What kind of student uses a pen like that? Huh. Now, 2 ways of looking at it. Up here, detached, saying, I shall not attach myself to such a silly spectacle. I won't attach myself to, doesn't see me as a person, certainly not as Carolyn, doesn't see me as anything. Rather, pulls out the lens, the long distance lens, and says, what an impersonal, silly spectacle. I'm not going to attach myself to a spectacle because in 1 second I'm gone and there's nothing there. There's nothing in the spot where that took place. There's nothing. In order to keep that moment alive, what is your name? Eileen. Eileen has to now take part of her precious life force and anchor herself in a memory that otherwise doesn't exist and doesn't have to exist. She's the one that has to incarnate it. Are you following me? Otherwise, she's the one that has to, like in the book of Genesis, breathe life into it. Otherwise, it doesn't have life at all. She's the one. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. You have been witnessing a million, billion perceptions around me and haven't anchored yourself in any of them. They've just floated by. You've cherry-picked the ones you want to remember. So Eileen decides, I shall anchor myself in that. The pen remark. Which means, serious, she has to take part of her life force and actually attach it to a made-up memory in her head. And now she has to feed this illusion, like Buddha would say, every single day. She has to tell the story again and again to people. Do you know what she said to me? In order to keep that memory alive, it's a dragon that needs feeding every day. Every day. It needs to be fed. Tell me again, tell the story again, tell it again, tell it again, tell it again. She has to find a pen support group. Tell it again, tell it again, tell it again, tell it again, tell it again. My pen story. Get up here. Well, my pen story. Pretty soon, it was a fountain pen. Pretty soon, it was a Mont Blanc fountain pen. I insulted a Mont Blanc. And everyone, oh, did you hear that? She insulted a Mont Blanc. Wow. And not only that, it was an antique one. The story gets bigger and bigger, better and better. As the story goes on, she thinks, I shall never give it up. It goes on and on and on. The myth, the gravitas of it becomes more serious. Once you anchor, and now once your pride gets its hands on one of your anchors, you are really in big trouble. And how many of your anchors are ruled by your pride? Just so you know, this is one of the laws. And you have to tell yourself, if I let my pride get involved in this, it's all over but the crying. It's going to commit me to a battle with that person because my pride's going to get involved. I better get myself out of here before this gets ugly. Can you relate to what I'm saying here? Yeah. Now, what you need to know is, let's say you got an immune disorder. Let's say you got arthritis, lupus, Crohn's. Any of you dealing with any of these? Okay? This kind of stuff has a lot to do with pride involvement. With issues of pride, with issues of, this is what I said was true, and that's all there's to it. That's all there's to it. And I'm not going back on what I said is so. And usually to family members or tribal members. And that's just the way it is. And the pride's involved. And then you have to see me that way. And if they don't validate it, you stick your feet in the ground, you stick your heels in the ground, and that is war, because it's pride. Yeah. I'm sorry, darling, I cannot understand, much less hear you. And it's my accent, not yours. Illnesses, children get illnesses, of course. You know what? I do not go near children. And I'll give you my reason. One is because people think they're innocent. Two, the people that think they're innocent also believe in reincarnation, and the two don't go together. You can't believe in reincarnation and have innocent babies. No can do. They do not go together. Do not go together. Do not go together. You can't have the story of Jesus and have innocent babies. The greatest soul who had a destiny, even as a baby. Okay? Sorry, I don't buy the innocent baby stuff, so I can't go near that, and I will not deal with hysterical parents. So I won't go there. My whole reality up here about how I see souls coming in, they require little bodies because a woman cannot give birth to an adult. Got it? Okay. Okay. It's as simple as that. Okay. I've seen some really nasty little children. So I don't buy the whole innocent child stuff. Okay. Now, the second law that you need to know, gravity, the second law you need to know is active in you at all times and part of all your decisions is the law of action and reaction. Every action you take has a reaction. Whether it's in your thoughts, in your feelings, you deal with people. One of the most hostile, whether it's passive, aggressive, whatever, the psychic environment you live in is real and it's powerful. And if you are breathing toxic psychic air, you may as well smoke cigars. Okay? So for every action there is a reaction, and it creates your psychic atmosphere and psychic free radicals. And a lot of people, because they will not speak directly to someone, first floor, they communicate passive aggressively in the psychic field. And I can't tolerate that. I find it an act of supreme cowardice. If you have something to say, say it. If you don't, get out of my way. But I will not tolerate a psychic attack or psychic communication. It is intolerable to me. Absolutely intolerable. Intolerable. I won't work with someone like that. I won't have them around me. That's the way a 4-year-old does things. And I allow a 4-year-old because they can't do it any better. But if you are one of those people, if that's your style, get over yourself, because you're creating an atmosphere that is intolerable. And mostly it's intolerable for you. You're drinking poison and putting everybody in poison. Number 2, if you're living with people or working with people like that, and you come in and you say, it's just so unpleasant, that's why it's unpleasant. And if there's anything you can do to bring things into consciousness and not participate in that, this is what becoming conscious is about. Then go directly to that person and say, I need to let us have a direct conversation. And remember, it may be difficult because you're going to come from a higher floor, and not everybody wants to be caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Not everybody wants to do that. And the way I did that years ago, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I worked in a university as a secretary. There was a professor, associate professor, who used to come in. I was a secretary to the chairman of the Department of Pharmacology at Northwestern. And this woman would come in, and she would deal with the other 2 secretaries, and she would have work, and she would throw it at them, toss it on the table. I need this by noon, and walk out. No please, no good morning, no anything. She had them completely intimidated. It was rude. It was just rude. And I was just out of graduate school, but the thing that gave me my power there, this is where I learned this, was that I didn't want anything from this place. I didn't want anything. I wasn't trying to achieve anything there. I was no scientist, and I was so not a scientist that I had no idea how brilliant they were, because I had no idea what they did. Do you know what I mean? I mean, these guys were brilliant, but what did I care? All I saw them do was cut up eels in a tube, and I was like, oh. So I just, you know what I mean? That's what they did. They did these electrical things, and nothing they did appealed to me. I didn't understand their language. They were nothing. I just had a great deal of respect for the Toshio Narahashi. You know the puffer fish? He's the one who identified the poison in there and its tracking. That's the only thing I understood. Dr. Puffer is what I called him. So, This woman, I had enough of her. So I called her up and I said, you know, Dr. So-and-so, could we go out to lunch? I'm a secretary. There's nothing on the end of the phone. I said, hello? So it was probably pure curiosity, boldness. She can't. So she said, all right. And maybe she thought I had some gossip from Dr. Narahashi to tell her, but no, that would not be the case. So we go over to the Chicago Water Tower place because Northwestern's right there on the lakefront in Chicago. I don't know how many of you have ever been there. It's beautiful. So we go over to the Chicago Water Tower place, and she is staring at me as if I had two heads, like as if I was the double llama from Dr. Seuss. And she's looking at me. So I said, you know, Dr. Washington, here's the thing. I said, I need to talk to you about something. And I said, so before I do, I'm going to give you 3 options. Now, I swear, I tell you the truth before God, and my beloved Teresa of Avila. I said, you can either tell me it's none of my business, you could tell me what the problem is, or you could tell me, or you could confide in me. And I'll never tell anybody. But what you can't do is tell me there's nothing wrong. Because there is. By this time, I swear, I promise you, she was like this. Right? I mean, really, I could have been like glowing in the dark, right? And I said, you come in and you do this and you do this and you do this, and it's just harsh. And I have to put them back together again after you leave. And I said, maybe you don't, I said, I am going to assume you don't realize you do that. I said, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you don't know you do that. And the only reason I could speak like this is I spent a lot of time in moral theology and in ethics, moral ethics. In graduate school, where you perceive that you learn to think this way. You learn to think what actions that you know are deliberate, actions that are not, and how to discern that. This is discernment. How to discern, was that deliberate or not? And if it wasn't, how then do you respond? And if you assume somebody, it's like lying from omission, whether it's deliberate or, and if it isn't, how do you approach someone when you realize their actions are harmful but not deliberate? You don't come at them with a baseball bat, you know. And her response was to confide in me. And we became very close friends, and we are still friends to this day. Now that's a long, long time ago. And so at this level, what you learn to perceive is impersonally, and this is how you see in yourself. It is an astounding capacity for you to say, what could be going on in my life? It's either this, 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 or this. The law of choice and consequence. Action and reaction is one law. The third is choice and consequence. I need to make a choice here and a consequence. How do I see something? How do I see something? Do I need to see it just so I win? Or can I afford to see it? I just want to see what's really happening here. Why don't my plans work? Why do I always feel like things are not working? How can I best heal? What do I need to do? I mean, present a question. What kind of question do you ask yourself? Are you asking yourself all the time right now? Anybody?
My best next step.
What's your best next step? Well, the thing you would have to say is, what is my personal agenda first? And what are the 3 possible agendas you could have that would block your next step? That's what you have to examine. Do you want people to witness your pain and feel sorry for you? Do you have any kind of personal agenda that would prevent your next step? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you have anything? Do you want to look at it like I'm afraid of a successful next step? If so, why? You have to look at all those. Which can it be? Be totally neutral, because it could be any one of those. And then put 5 options in a fishbowl and choose one and say, that's the one I'm doing. Anyone else? Okay, third law that you need to learn is magnetic attraction. That's your third one. Magnetic attraction. That's your third law. Third. No. First is gravity, action, reaction. Sorry. Choice and consequence, then magnetic attraction. Correct. Yeah, magnetic attraction. And the thing about magnetic attraction that you have to know is that, you know how that one book makes it look like all you do is think and then you're things are attracted. Well, anyway, as I was thinking, how's it working for you? Okay? So obviously there's a little bit more to it. You're a bit more complex than one thought form and thinking, like, right? Yeah, a little bit more, wouldn't we say? I would think so. So I think you would be much more advised, it would be much more discerning, a little bit more clear to realize that, like, magnetic attraction is a far more complex law than having one thought and thinking all your other thoughts have just turned themselves off because you finally found one with something you want. And that all your other thoughts that are chaotic, negative, over the edge, are simply dysfunctional, while the one you finally want, your shopping cart one, now that one's going to work, while all the other ones, suddenly the law of magnetic attraction doesn't apply to them. Oh, for God's sake. What a bunch of nonsense. Okay? But magnetic attraction, go for the lowest common denominator in you, and that's the one it's working with. Because that's the one you have constantly on. It's one thing to come to a workshop and say, okay, everybody, let's think positive. I can get you up there for 3 minutes. But if I leave you alone, you'll go to your lowest common denominator with the most faith. Because what you have faith in is your fears. They control you. What you have faith in are your insecurities. What you have faith, you have no problem letting them control you, which means you have faith in them. What controls you, you have faith in. Okay? That's where the law of magnetic attraction's working. Are you with me here? Okay? Which means that you're way out of that. Your way out of that is, and when you think, like, what am I attracting to? The way that law of manifest is, and this is, I just want to plant a seed here, is when you drop something, when you break something, when things, these little things that happen on the side, little bumping into something with the car, little things where no one is hurt. I want you to think that the law of magnetic attraction, action, reaction, is dispelling things. Discharging dark energy that's just feeding in your system. Do you ever notice when you're trying to get something really wonderful done, it seems like one little bad thing happens after another? Now, they're not big bad things, they're irritating. They're irritating. You lose this happens, that happens. just when you're trying the hardest to make something wonderful happen. And why is it all these things go wrong? Well, the Tibetans will say those are devils farting in the corner. Yeah, devils farting in the corner. Because when something good is trying to come in your life and all that light is trying to come in, this is a law. Light does attract darkness, but darkness attracts light. It is just the way of the teeter-totter. It's the way of the equinox. I mean, the solstices and the equinox. It is the way it is. So when something light-filled is coming, a lot of little gnats are going to come in and bite at it. And when they do, you should look and say, oh, wonderful, because it means this is going to be born perfect. If you drop a lot of cupcakes, your big cake's going to be perfect. So you should make a cupcake and just go, pew, done, get it over with. I'm serious. You think I'm kidding? I am so serious it's not funny. If you're making a big, beautiful cake, make a small cupcake and throw it on the wall. Totally, I'm so serious. Learn to work with the laws. Learn to expect experiences of endings and beginnings. You've got to go with the flow in your life. Learn to sense this is ending now. Don't make choices that are lying to yourself. Don't do it. If you sense bubbling and you say, I need guidance, when you get guidance, use it. Your intuitive system will tell you, don't eat this, don't eat it. If your guidance says, tell the truth, tell the truth. Don't betray yourself. You'll pay a price for it. These are the laws. These are the laws. Nothing is anyone's fault but your own. Don't ever blame anybody again. Because in the end, nothing is anyone's fault. But if you could say, but they hit me in an accident. There's no such thing as accidents. Who knows why things happen as they do? The other person was in an accident too, if you were. You were. They didn't want that accident any more than you did. They didn't want to be colliding with you any more than you wanted to be colliding with them. Is that not the case? That wasn't their idea of a good time. The higher perspective is, I don't know why this happened. I don't know why this happened. I have to figure out the way to heal. This is a difficult thing, but here's what's true. That's the nature of life on this planet. The nature of life on this planet are complex things that are hard to take, and we all have a basket of them. And we all have a basket of this sucks. This isn't fair. But it could be our karma. And feeling sorry for ourselves and letting it stop the positive choices you should be making, is just a foolish thing to do. It's just a foolish thing to do. Everyone can feel sorry for themselves someplace. But here's what's true. Here's another law of the universe. What is in one is in the whole. That is now duplicated in the internet. What is in one is in the whole. Just put a virus in the internet. What is in one is in the whole. It is also spiritual. What is in you, what is in me, is in all of us. What is in all of us is in the whole of us. It is irrelevant, first floor, that none of us can get that. It is irrelevant, but the time has come where we must live it. It is critical that we live that. It wasn't critical before World War II. It is critical now. It is so critical that the angels should visit us when we are not living that law, and just take us home now, because we're not playing by the rules. I'm just saying, you're not playing by the rules. You have to come home now. Because we need people on the planet who will play by the rules. And that's all there is to it. We can't afford not to have people on the planet who don't play by the rules. Because you are in survival mode. And we can't have people not contributing to survival. What is in one is in the whole. Which means, as you act, so the whole world feels. So I get to look at you and say, you owe me the best you have to offer. Because what you contribute to the whole is my whole. And what I contribute is yours. You get to hold me accountable for being a dishonest, lousy person based on that. But I get to hold you accountable, which means I have an obligation to help you heal, to teach the best I can, because this is my calling. And you have an obligation to be the best person you can be, because you're still here. Because you're still here. Because all of us breathe together, and it doesn't matter that your 5 senses can't get that. I don't care about your 5 senses not getting it. My 5 senses don't get it. But my mystical sense does. And if I didn't know that so well, I wouldn't have the energy at my age to keep going around the world and telling people this truth. You matter. What you do matters. And there's no such thing as age up here. You cannot look at me and say you're too old. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Your soul is ageless. We're in soul territory now. Your soul has what it takes to keep your body going in a very healthy way. But you have to decide you respect yourself. Never mind love. I have no use for that word. You respect yourself enough to keep your creativity going. That you see yourself as having enough value. That you don't measure value by whether people out there think you're important, but whether you do. And that you recognize that being of value is not measured by money or occupation, but by what am I doing today to make the world a better place. I have stacks of stories of people who didn't kill themselves because someone was kind to them and it gave them hope. That could have been any one of you. I had this perception last summer. I was standing at the door of my house, and lots of people walked down my block to see the architecture because it's the historic district of the town I live in. And I'm looking at all these people and I thought, get off this street. I can't do a damn thing on this street, and there's all these people and tourists, you know. And then I honestly, I do this, I play in my head all the time, which I'm sure you find hard to believe. And I said, I wonder if I could see this differently. And I took a deep, because I said, God, I got to get out of this. This is not a holy thought. I got to get out of this. And I said, I need a holy thought. And I stood in my backyard just like this. And I said, I need a holy thought now. This is how you pray. You don't have to assume this position, but you have to say, I need this now. That's a very effective prayer. And I said, I need a holy thought now. And I looked, and instantly I was just drenched in the thought that any one of these strangers could, in their professional life, be someone who had just done me a great favor. And I will never know it. Could be any one of them. They could have just perhaps worked at the post office and just picked up one of my letters that was just about to get stuck underneath something, but they saved it, and it was a letter that I'd just written and I really had to an old friend. Or they could have done who knows what, but any one of them could have been the person who had just done a favor for me behind the scenes, and I would never know it, and they would never know it was me, because I was just nothing. I was just one more wheel in a clog or how you say that, in their world. But there's a chance that that could have happened because vibrationally our paths always cross with someone vibrationally. And suddenly I looked at the whole block and I had this ridiculous heart full of gratitude and affection because now it was a whodunit. Now I looked at them all like who had just done me a big favor. Because now I was convinced someone had. And now I was just so filled with how about it someone had done me a great big huge favor. And they became a wonderment to me, just a block full of wonderments. And suddenly I thought how wonderful all these people were. And I can still see their faces because I memorized them. And I thought, I will meet one of you again. I know it. I promise you this day I will meet one of you again. One of you I will encounter again. Because I know one of you has done me a great favor, and I will find that out. And I froze that day. I froze that photo in that day. So I said, from that point on, you know, I oftentimes will pray, I need a sacred thought, I need it now, because I don't like the way I see this. It's not good. It is not holy. I leave you with that. You have what it takes to say, I need a holy thought. I need to see this in a holy way, and I need it now. I need it now, right now. I need to see this person in a holy way. I need to see my problem in a holy way. Hover over me, God. I need to see this in a sacred way now. Get me out of this because I'm sinking into the worst of me. And even I can't stand the worst of me. I can't imagine how other people put up with the worst of me. That they do is amazing. Because I can't stand the worst of me. It is amazing I have any friends left if I get a worst of me attack. Because you, remember something, you're not entitled to their loving you. Let's be real clear here. You're not entitled to that. You're not entitled to any one of them seeing you the next day after a worst of you attack. You better remind yourself of what's true. You're not entitled to any of the good things in your life. So if you want to know what real grace is, it's the fact that there are people in your life who think, I'm so glad you're in my life. My life would be so empty if you weren't there. I would be so empty. I think my heart is full because you're in my life. If you have one person who feels that way, you are so blessed. Imagine that you might have two. Who think, I would be heartsick if you weren't on the planet. Heartsick. When I get up in the morning, my day, my planet is a full thing because you're on it. If you think you're entitled to that, you better think again. If you want to know what a blessing is and the presence of God and grace, that is it. Because you can't make anybody love you that way. Not one person. That is God hovering over you.